An efficient column will produce narrow peaks even after a long retention time. So if we can think of an ideal peak, and we always draw peaks ideally as kind of Gaussian peaks, it's worth remembering that peaks may not always be Gaussian. It's not uncommon to have a peak that has some tailing. Tailing means that at longer retention times it actually tails off. That's something to do with imperfections in the column itself. We could also have something which gives fronting, so it actually has a front to it, and that's usually caused by overloading the column. So these are asymmetrical peaks. But if we have a symmetrical peak and we know the retention time, I'll try and redraw this, and we're saying for this problem that the retention time, the time after injection, is 8.02 minutes. We also need to know either the base peak width or the half peak width. In this case we know the base peak width, so again we're going to draw tangents to make it a triangle and measure the width at the baseline, and this has to be in minutes, so if it's in centimeters you need to know the chart speed. In this case we've got minutes, 0.13 minutes as a peak width, and if we know the peak width we can use the equation that the number of theoretical plates, n, is equal to 16 times the retention time, which we know is 8.02 minutes, over the base width in minutes, which is 0.13 squared. And if we had the width at half height, which is easier to measure, then it would be 5.54 times retention time over width at half peak height squared. In this case though, we get number of theoretical plates equal to 60,895, and don't be put off by big numbers. We do often get them, particularly for GC columns. If we wanted to know the height equivalent to a theoretical plate, which tells us a little more about the efficiency of the column, then that would be 30 for a 30-meter column divided by the number of theoretical plates, 60,895. We end up with 4.93 times 10 to the minus 4. Minus 4. Get rid of that. And I'll write that again. Times 10 to the minus 4 meters.